the name of the little Simpson girl.
Lisa.
Yeah, I wanted to be Lisa again. So I signed up for school in Berlin, Kreuzberg, in the ghetto, kind of. So, and then I was sitting there amongst lots of students who failed in school, and I was one of them. And on our first day, the classroom was really packed with people, and only 15 survived. And most of them had troubles reading a book, even. That was not my problem. My problem was to survive in Berlin-Kreuzberg. And I speak Turkish now quite well. One of my friends at that time, she became my best friend, didn't know how to speak German or Turkish properly because she didn't learn one of these languages properly. And now she runs a company, a cleaning service, and has 100 employees in Berlin. So that was really an experience. Then I went studying. I studied politics and management. And I became quite a workaholic during my university time. So I did 7 internships in 4 years. I worked for the United Nations. I worked for the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs in India. I worked for the biggest German political foundation. I even sold my diploma thesis to a political consultancy and worked on migration and integration topics. And then a friend called and asked me if I wanted to work at Sony Pictures, mobile, entertainment, business development. And I thought, okay, why could I possibly work there? And he said, yeah, you're so spirited and you're so entrepreneurial and nobody knows this business. So, and I said, okay, yes, then let's do it. And I went home and Googled everything I needed to know. And I went to London to an assessment center and I got the job, and that's where I met Christoph. And I really loved it. So from that point on, I'm working in digital. And I loved it because it was in 2007. There were no iPhones at that time. And it was a blank space. So there were lots of things to discover and to create. And so everything I did, even working for a big corporation, I could do, well, on my own for the because it was a startup vibe within the. And I wanted to continue that and joined the first startup in Berlin called StudiVZ. Does anybody of you know that? That's why I met Chris. It was a social network. It was a copycat of Facebook and founded by 3 students in their students' house. And they basically copied Facebook and had 25 million users at its peak. And we were, I think at one point we were about 400 people in Berlin. And my business, or my job, was to make business and money out of the social network. So everybody hated me within the company. So I did what I knew, so I spammed lots of banners and advertising. It was really a horrible experience. It was a nightmare for all the users. And I thought, okay, this is not what I want to do. I really want to have some impact. I loved the idea of a social network, but I didn't love my job in particular at some point. I joined a team of designers and innovators at Fjord because I wanted to be in a place where good products were made. And I was there from 2010 onwards. And I think we were the first bunch of people who really did user experience and design thinking, cross-innovation methodology, and tried to build human-centric products. And for me, this was amazingly interesting. And I was again responsible for building up the business. So I really, got to a point where I can sell dreams. It was like being in a travel agency where you sell dreams. You sell something that's non-existent. And I sold user experience projects to lots of clients. And I learned a lot about that. But at some point, I wanted to have a team. And I also wanted to join the healthcare industry because I think all of us will be patients at some point when we grow old. My father had, I think, 4 heart attacks. He was a bank manager. So I always grew up, with some connection to the healthcare system. to join healthcare. And then I was at the Mobile World Congress, and this company came along. XXWelcome was the name of the company. xxwell.com, but pronounced XXWelcome. And they had 120 people in Berlin working on a digital diet coaching. And I looked at the website and I thought, okay, everything in this company is broken. And it was actually like that. But what they had, and for you, for all of you who work in healthcare, know how difficult it is to get that, they had a contract with the biggest German health insurance. And they built a coaching system for them, and they had a really good relationship. Even though the product had not the best user experience, it was there, and this relationship was there. So I joined the company as a CEO. On my first day in the office, I Googled what a CEO would do because I had no clue. And I can tell you now that I didn't have a clue how to read all these numbers and financial stuff. And I Googled basically everything. I didn't know anything when I joined the company. And I came from like 0 team to 120 people. And I just looked through the numbers and I understood that we had about half of the revenue in loss and that something needed to be done. So my first job was basically, I had to fire half of the team. And that was really, now I laugh, but it was not funny. It was really emotionally challenging and it was horrible because I didn't have time to build up trust with the team. I went in there like a thunderstorm basically, but I had to do it because I wanted to change and build something new. And I also found pretty quickly after that, I found new teams. Some people I could work together with. Chris was one of them and joined me as a CTO for some time at Welldoo. And I changed the name of the company to Welldoo. And with that name change came also a complete change in the business modeling, in the strategy. And we built, in 3.5 years, we built a new company basically on xxwell.com, on the basics and on this one contract that we had, and that was really valuable. And I remember that it was, I think, for maybe 1.5 or 2 years, it was really rough. We were really struggling to get the team together. We were struggling to win new clients, and we were struggling to tell people what we were exactly doing. And then I hired a PR agency, and it was the time when digital health just came up. So it was no topic before that, and it just came up. And we had a couple of products, like a coach we built for this health insurance. And we were basically telling everybody that we were the greatest team because we had medical, we had doctors, we had sports scientists, psychologists, designers, and all of these different people in the company. And we told everybody that we are the greatest team when it comes to digital health services. And we got some press coverage, and I, as a female CEO, got some keynotes on conferences. And then also my team read in the news that we are a great company, and they started believing it. And from there, it really worked. And it went so well that at some point, everybody was proud working there, and we really wanted to make amazing health products for pharmaceutical companies. We built products that would help people to follow their therapy, to really understand how they could change their lifestyle, maybe to have an impact on their health. Through this one contract and this great team I had built up, many more clients came, and it worked pretty well. And then we decided that we wanted to sell the company, also because healthcare is a pretty tough market, and the projects that are interesting are really big, and at some point you really need to grow to do the interesting stuff. So we wanted to merge, and we successfully did that, and the company was acquired by Arvato, and then I took the chance, because my job was done, I took the chance to leave the company, and I went to travel and did a yoga teacher training in India. Yeah, and just took some time to think about what I had accomplished and what I wanted to do next. And in the beginning I thought maybe I want to do something else and start completely new in another industry. But I really, got to a point where I think, or where I thought that healthcare is the most interesting industry. And what I took from my time at Welldoo are also, well, a couple of roles that I still have. So I'm on a board, for example, of an insurance company to help them with innovation and digital stuff. And I'm the ambassador for Berlin and Brandenburg for digital health, for example. And this was one of my learnings. It's a key success factor in healthcare. You need to manage stakeholders and you need a good network. And I had grown that. And it gives me the chance to pretty quickly, talk to people that you need to talk to in order to understand complexity if you want to push topics forward in healthcare. So I looked at a couple of things, and I joined a team in Arvato. Magnosco is the name of the company, and the company is doing hardware/AI software, and it's the first time I'm actually building hardware with a team. And it's a team of 10 super smart people. I think, yeah, it's a really smart bunch I work with now. And what we deal with is early detection of skin cancer, which is still very difficult. And we have a laser that scans the skin within and really understands changes of the cell structure on a molecular level. And we built an AI that helps us to detect and to diagnose. And the product is ready to go to market. And for me, it's really an interesting challenge because this topic of building a hardware in healthcare is a completely new level because it takes ages and it's not comparable with building software certified as a medical product class A or class 1. It's really something completely different, and I love doing that. And I learn a lot again. And yeah, let's see where it's going. But it certainly helps to understand stakeholders, and it certainly helps to have an insight and some, well, humbleness to the healthcare system that I now develop to really understand first and then think of what to do. So yeah, this is my entrepreneurial journey. Yeah, this is it.
What did you take from that? What did you learn from that? I think that's what's really interesting. Like, I mean, you started out as a political science student, NGOs, and being in India. Now you find yourself at the top of companies with a royal salary and changing very capitalist team structures. Is that still the same, Inga?
Yes. What I learned from it is, I think what is really important, I don't know how it is to build a team from scratch, because I never did that. I usually come in and change things that are broken in one way or the other, or that need to evolve, or that are at a certain point, and then need to change in order to go further. And what I do is questioning basically everything, and I love jump into the conflict and get through the conflict. So that makes it easy for me to change things, because usually, or many people are afraid of this. So that's what I learned. So that is something that I do. So it's basically the same.
how can somebody learn to love conflicts? Because it's not mostly that people hate it, everyone but you in the world hates it. So is there a way to become a little bit more Inga? Is that something you can learn? Is that something you always have?
I think if a conflict helps to accelerate and to drive things in a certain way, then you just need to go through it. So that's what I think. But you should not, of course, create a conflict when there's not a conflict. But so this is what the pattern I see from what I do. I go into things that need a little bit of change, and the healthcare industry is one of them. And I think there will be lots of conflicts, and there are already lots of conflicts in the healthcare industry, because an innovation that you want to push into this healthcare market takes something from somebody. So, the market is very political, so it doesn't follow the market rules like most other markets. So if you want to accomplish something in healthcare, there will be a conflict with one stakeholder group. May it be the pharmaceutical industry, may it be the doctors, may it be the insurance companies. Somebody will need to change. And I think if you basically want to accomplish something in healthcare, you need to be ready for that.
How do you see, I've one more, how do you see, now that you've really delved into it, how do you see innovation in your field develop? And I mean that on a personal level. Like I read sometimes that if you're young enough today, you have a chance to live forever. Because in the next 20 years, like we will be able to renew cells. If you are a little bit older, however, you may also get the chance to live forever, however, as a 70-year-old, and I don't know if that's desirable. Then others say that no matter if it happens or not, we will not be able to afford it anyway, so it doesn't count, like only very rich people will be available, ready to afford that. What do you think how this whole market is moving forward, if at all? What can we expect? What are you working towards?
I don't know, I have to say, because there's so much innovation that is not accessible for us at the moment, unless we have lots of time to deal with it and lots of money to go, to a place where this is maybe allowed. So I don't really know, and I'd say this now because I'm now working on one specific topic, and this changes my perspective very much. So I think I gave lots of keynotes about digital transformation in healthcare, and on the surface we all know, okay, the patient will be in the center, we will generate more data, we will use this data, we will use all the technology that we have to make the health system more effective, to reduce costs and to make health services accessible for everybody. But in the role that I have now with Magnosco, I'm in this one specific field, and I see how difficult it is to just get like one single, disruptive thing into the healthcare system. And I look at Michael, because you're basically doing the same thing, so you must have the same learnings to some extent. Yes. Yeah, I think everybody has them. So from this like high-level entrepreneurial view, it's pretty clear what will happen. But when you really go into the like single pillars and then try to change it, it's amazingly much stakeholder management. You have to go through lots of, people management, lots of politics. So I expect that it will be slower than we expect it to be, this change. But it will definitely come, and at some point it will basically push us because we don't have the money anymore to finance this super expensive, not so effective healthcare system that we have. Does anybody else have some questions?
You mentioned that the rate is slower than it could have been or should have been. What is the biggest obstacle, in your opinion, for medical innovation? Is it the market structure? Is it the regulatory structure? Or is it something else entirely?
It's structure, the regulatory affairs that become even more well, difficult. So if you want to start a business in healthcare, you need somebody who knows this topic, otherwise you are basically lost. But I would love to continue this discussion we once had about hacking the system, because that would be really interesting. Hacking the regulatory affairs and finding ways to, make it somehow accessible.
Start a country.
Like in Estonia, for example. That's a good example.
Right, actually, that is small countries like Israel or Estonia or something that are more amenable to innovation and have less of an entrenched establishment.
Yes. So, and the second thing is, I think, the stakeholder structure and the politics. So I have seen so many startups that start with a message, save so many lives, and we will do this and that. And this is a messaging that you can have towards investors. They love that. But if you come with that kind of messaging on a doctor's conference and tell a doctor, tomorrow I will take your job and I will make it more precisely with my artificial intelligence service, you will have a problem and they will block you and you will not have a chance. And there are so many examples of companies who failed because they didn't understand the specific need, I would say, of that market. So that's the second thing.
The doctor or the insurance company? It was more important to win over the doctor or the insurance company?
Everybody. Everybody. That's the thing. Okay.
I have a personal question. Like when you were 14, was it did you feel uncomfortable by being an outsider, by being so good in everything? And if so, how did you manage to survive the next years in school? You know what I mean? I assume because you're too good, too whatever. And when you reflect now, do you see any, how did you go through that?
I just never went there, I think. I didn't go to school that much when I was 14. I think I was more absent than I was there, maybe. No. That would be another topic for me. Changing the education system would be interesting as well.
So you never had fights with your parents that you didn't go, or they believed you go, or your accent?
That's a very long story. Yes, of course. I had so many fights. No, but now they're of course very happy, and it's very funny because when I go to my hometown and I go to these high school reunion things, I'm always oh, we thought you would end up like an unemployed person. They cannot believe that I became a successful entrepreneur.
What would you tell a 14-year-old in the same situation now?
Yeah, I don't know. All my friends with 14-year-old kids ask me that, and they all ask me can you explain? I will think about that. I think I have to think about it. I think it's not so easy. Yeah.
You are in an industry that is rapidly digitalizing, right? And you're leading teams in that environment. And I think one of the biggest questions that in and without, inside and outside of the health industry, people are struggling with is, what does this whole digitalization thing even mean to organizations and to leadership, and how do you recruit and how do you assess what people can do and what they should do, and when do you decide not to work with them? I know since you already did develop digital products, well-designed products before you've stepped in leading these organizations, what are the big differences? How do you go about managing teams?
I think it's pretty easy and pretty straightforward, because in digital topics, everything changes so quickly that you need intrinsically motivated people, and you need people who want to master what they're doing. So you only need to do two things. You need to give them purpose. You need to provide a purpose for the people who work for you, and they need to understand what they will accomplish and what they will accomplish for, improving the quality of the world or of patients or whatever. And then I think you need to give people a clear objective, but then lots of freedom, because that's what's interesting about digital, and not only about digital, because now I'm not in a purely digital company, but it's pretty much the same, because I cannot master every single topic. I cannot be a laser expert or an expert in dermatology within the next 2 years. It's not possible. So I need to coach my team and set the direction, set the purpose, so that all of them are going into the same direction and work on the same purpose. And I think that's what I saw in all the companies that I consulted and that I still consult now. So still sometimes now I consult corporations for fun. And I think it's all about setting a purpose, finding the right people, and then giving freedom and setting the goals. Chris, you had a question? Yeah. Okay.
You already asked.
Yeah.
What do you think your next big challenge could be? I mean, in the past 10 years, for me, as like watching it, it was a quite speedy career. We met at each one of the steps. When Inga was at StudiVZ, I was building a startup that wanted to collaborate with StudiVZ. When she was at Fjord, I did a project for Fjord. When you were at Welldoo, no, we only became neighbors, right?
Yes.
But there was no business connection. The transition to Magnosco I also witnessed as a friend. So it was really quite a steep ascent, I would say, in very few years. And that's why I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that if this ascent continues at the same speed and in the same direction, the chairmanship of a big corporation, that's what everything will probably aim towards. But is that also how you perceive it? How do you see yourself taking what you've learned forward? What's the next big challenge and then the next big challenge?
So I don't really care so much about running a big corporation unless it would provide power that you need in order to accomplish something. I really enjoy this role now that I can change and shape things. It's interesting because I never have these objectives, of making a career. I just have this thing that because I failed in school, I don't want to fail anymore. So I want to make everything successful that I do. So that's basically it. So let's see if it works out, and let's see what comes next. So I don't know.
Did you just say that the important thing for you to move forward is getting power?
No, I didn't say that, but I think you need, to a certain extent, you need some power in order to change things. And you also need that, for example, if you want to digitalize a company, it's also the companies you're working with, if they have a chief digital officer, but this chief digital officer basically has no power, there will be no digitalization. So I think every entrepreneurial person also needs some power, even though this is in German, it's not a nice word, and you would not exactly use it, especially as a woman. It sounds very strange when you say I want to be powerful, but I think you need that to a certain extent, just in order to be an entrepreneur. Yeah.
I love conflict and I don't mind power. I think we're getting closer to the secret of
Christoph.
You just want a conflict here so that you can show what you can handle it.
Anyway, so thanks for coming. So, are there any more questions? Yeah, okay.
Well, you talk about the data and technology, it's so changing, and one of the most important things in Germany is data security and healthcare. It is very restrained, and the new regulations are coming in next year also.
Yes.
So, and we, being technical people, we know it is not very easy to correct the data. So what do you think how we can get along with that problem on that challenge?
Yeah, I hope it will change again, because it will not be that practically usable to a certain extent.